Oi, oi, oi! Olá, gente! Tudo bom? Tudo bom, pessoal? Hello, everyone! I'm so happy to be here with you today. Welcome to the Brazilian Portuguese Week. This is the third time that I organize this live event. I'm so excited about it. For one entire week, for 7 days, I will be here with you every day for 1 hour to teach you a class and help you with your Portuguese. I'm so happy about that. I want to know if you guys can see me and hear me well. Let me know if the connection is good. Tudo bom? I see a lot of people in the comments. Tudo bom, Mike, Jacob, Leone, Mary, Nicole, Eli. Tudo bom, gente? Anthony. Oi, oi, oi. So happy to see all of you here. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how this week is going to work so you can get ready and also have some exciting announcements for you guys. So before we start, I want you to know that I have my assistant in the chat. Her name is Aline, so look for her. She's going to help me answer your questions during the class. She's also Brazilian. She's not a teacher, but she's Brazilian, so she can also help you with your Portuguese and answer any questions you have about my courses or about this class, where to get the PDF and all that stuff. Okay, so look for Aline in the chat. Ok, tudo bom? Ótimo, Lorna, Bill. Stomach acid. That's a very funny name for a YouTube profile. Muito bom, gente. Shannon, tudo bom? Ron, Catarina, Steve, Ramil. Oh, so many people. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you where you can download. So I prepared a material for each class. So I'm going to show you where you can see the entire program and download the material for each class, okay? So stay with me. I'm going to share my screen with you. So you have to go to this website, BrazilianPortugueseWeek.com. I created this page just to show you, to share with you the program. And you can sign up for free. This event is free, as you know. So I'm going to show you. You just scroll down and you see, to sign up, just click here and then you'll be redirected to the page. And this is the entire program. So let's talk a little bit about this. So today we are going to talk about verb conjugation. This is very important, especially if you're starting now, if you don't understand how verb conjugation works in Portuguese. So I'm going to give you a lot of information about that today, verb agreement and all that. This is beginner level, but if you still have questions about that, this class could also be a good one for intermediate level students as a review, okay? So tomorrow we are going to talk about basic sentence structure in Portuguese, also beginner level, but also a good review for intermediate level students. The next day I'm going to talk about the variations of pronunciation of the letter R. I receive emails and messages from you all the time about this letter. So let's talk about it. I prepared a lesson to talk about all the variations and we are going to practice in class, okay? The next day I'm going to talk about prepositions, all those little words that are very confusing. I know how hard it is because I also struggle with prepositions in English and other languages. So I hope this class will help you to understand how to use these words, okay? The next day we have an intermediate level class. So if your level is intermediate, this class is for you. Add it to your calendar. This is going to be on Friday. So we have a class 100% in Portuguese. So in these beginner level classes, I like to teach the class in English because a lot of people in this channel cannot understand Portuguese yet. That's why I teach the class in English. But we are going to practice a lot of Portuguese in class, so get ready for that. But in the intermediate level class, I will speak Portuguese only, okay? So if your level is intermediate, add it to your calendar. On Friday, we are going to talk about compound tenses. Actually, this is on Thursday, right? I'm lost in the calendar. So compound tenses, the most common compound tenses, like compound tenses when you use two verbs, especially the verb ter, like to have, and then another verb. And on the next day, we are going to talk about idiomatic expressions, also intermediate level class. I know that many of you are very interested in learning more about idiomatic expressions. There are so many. I'm going to bring a list of your idiomatic expressions so we can practice together. In the last class, which will be on Saturday, I'll talk about how I study languages. I'm going to give you some study tips, and I also have more time available to answer your questions. Okay, we are going to have a short Q&A every day by the end of the class, but on the last day I'll have more time to answer your questions. Tá bem? So this is the program. I hope you are excited about it. I am very excited about it. Remember to sign up so you can have access to the material, okay? It's completely free. Even if you have already signed up for another course in my school, you still have to sign up to have access to this material, okay? Just go to this website and click sign up, and then you have access to the material. Okay, so now I would like to talk to you a little bit about the courses that I offer. The enrollment is open. I just opened this morning enrollment for the classes that start in May. So as you guys know, I don't offer courses every month because I work with a very small team. So I only open enrollment every 3 or 4 months. If you want to study Portuguese regularly with me and my team, this is the opportunity to join one of my courses. Enrollment is open today until Saturday. So from today till the end of the week, till Saturday, you can sign up, you can join one of my courses. I offer many courses for all levels, so go to this website and take a look. So I have the beginners course, the essential course for beginners, which is for beginner level students, or for those who need to review the essential content. I have the pre-intermediate workshop, which is for upper beginner level students. So I recommend for those who completed this first course, or for those who have studied for at least 3 to 6 months. Then I have the grammar workshop, the grammar and conversation workshop. This course is new. I created this for intermediate level students who still need help with grammar, okay, intermediate level grammar. And the Speaking Brazilian Academy is a conversation program. So the focus of the academy is to practice conversation. It's not a course, a regular course, it's a membership. So you have access to a lot of material and practice regularly for as long as you want. Okay, so these are the main 4 courses that I offer. There is also the option of private instruction with my team. So go to this website to learn more. Tá bem? And I want to invite you to follow my new account, Instagram account. I told you guys that my other Instagram account disappeared. I have no idea why. So I have this new account now. It's Virginia_Langhammer. And during this week, I want to help you practice more, not only in this class, but also after the class. So I created a challenge, and it will be hosted on Instagram. So after the class, I'm going to post the first challenge on Instagram, and I encourage you to go to Instagram, follow me, and do the challenge so you practice more. And by the end of the week, I'm going to give away a 30-minute pronunciation training with one of the teachers. And if you have to do at least one of the challenges to participate in this challenge, in this giveaway. Okay, so I'm very excited about that. I hope that this will help you practice a little bit more during this week. Tá bem? So these are all the announcements that I have to give you. If you have any questions, you can ask Aline, and I'll also have some time at the end of the class to answer your questions, because it is really hard for me to read all your comments, but I'll try to, when I say, okay, now I'm reading your comments, I'm going to answer your questions, then you can post your question at that moment, okay? Muito bom, gente. So let's get started. Let's start talking about verb conjugations. I'm going to share my screen with you. Muito bom. Okay. So this is the material that I prepared for you for this class. Let me close this. Okay. And you can download this from the website. Okay, so when you talk about conjugação de verbos, verb conjugation, there are many things that you need to think, that you need to understand in order to conjugate verbs correctly. And one of the most important things, it is important, I know that grammar, some people get scared with grammar, right? Because grammar sometimes is so complicated. I know it is. But it is important to know some words, some terminology that will help you a lot to understand the language. So I recommend you open your mind a little bit about grammar and try to understand and learn some terminology that will help you a lot, especially when you're talking about conjugation of verbs. So one thing that you should know is what pessoa means. So when you're talking about conjugation, each in conjugation, verb agreement, all conjugation, you have to agree the person, the pessoa, with the verb, right? So let's talk about, and what is pessoa? So pessoa is the person that is acting, right? That is acting. The verb is an action, right? So the person is the person that is acting, okay? This is usually the subject of a sentence. So in Portuguese, we have 6 pessoas, but we don't use all of them. So let's take a look at this really quick. So a primeira pessoa, and we also have like singular and plural. So this is the terminology that we use in Portuguese. Primeira pessoa do singular. So when you're talking about yourself, the pronoun I in Portuguese is eu. 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 I recommend that every time I say something in Portuguese that you try to repeat after me so you practice pronunciation, okay? Eu. So this is called primeira pessoa do singular, first person singular, okay? And then we have the second person, segunda pessoa do singular, tu. This pronoun in Brazil, it is used, but there is one tricky thing about this pronoun. Most people in Brazil use the second person, tu, with the conjugation of the third person. So this is something weird that happens in Brazilian Portuguese. In Portugal, they do use the correct conjugation for the pronoun tu, but in Brazil, most people don't. That's why I recommend that my students use another pronoun, which is the pronoun você, você, instead of tu. Você has the same conjugation as ele and ela. So this is the terceira pessoa do singular, third person plural. Ele, ela. We also have você, and we also have a gente. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these words in a minute. So let's talk about the primeira pessoa do plural. So first person plural is we, nós, nós. And segunda pessoa do plural, vós. This pronoun we don't use in Brazil. You can see it sometimes in literature, old literature. It is not common at all. So don't worry about that, but it exists. And the last one, terceira pessoa do plural, third person plural, which in English is they. In Portuguese, we have 2. We have the feminine and the masculine. Eles is masculine, elas is feminine. Both words are translated as they. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about, as I was saying, the tu was replaced by the pronoun você in most part of Brazil. So most people in Brazil would use the pronoun você instead of tu. And then you should use the conjugation for the third person singular, just like ele, ela. Okay? Então, por exemplo, I'm going to give you some examples here. So if you say, você fala português. So this means you speak Portuguese. If you use the pronoun tu, you should say, tu falas português. Okay, so you see, when you use one pronoun, you have to change the conjugation. Você fala, tu falas. So if you use the pronoun tu, you should say tu falas. However, most Brazilians would say tu fala português. Okay, I just wanted to know that because this is very common in colloquial language in Brazil. I recommend you use você because it is easy to conjugate, and the conjugation, and everyone knows what it means, everyone uses it. Okay, so I recommend you use você. That's my recommendation for you. Another pronoun that it is very interesting is actually a phrase pronoun, right? It is a gente, a gente. A gente means nós. It means we. But also the conjugation is also singular. It's also third person singular, because it comes, it is a phrase, right? It's not really a pronoun. So you should say, a gente gosta de chocolate. So if you use the pronoun a gente, the pronoun phrase a gente, you have to use the conjugation in the third person singular. This is important, okay? If you say a gente gostamos, if you use a different conjugation, this will be incorrect. So you should use the singular, the third person singular, okay? However, we also have the pronoun nós, which means we. And then if you use nós, then we should use the conjugation for first person plural, primeira pessoa do plural. Nós gostamos de chocolate. Okay? So this is important, guys. If you use the phrase a gente, you should conjugate the verb in the singular form. If you use the pronoun nós, you should conjugate in plural form. Ok? Does it make sense? Sim? Então, a gente gosta de chocolate. Nós gostamos de chocolate. What is the difference in the meaning? There is no difference. A gente gosta de chocolate means exactly the same thing as nós gostamos de chocolate. There is no difference. In colloquial language, it's much more common to use a gente. Why? Because the conjugation is so simple. So as you can see, Brazilians like to simplify the language, okay? So if there is a simpler way of saying something, we are going to use that. So a gente gosta de chocolate is much more common in colloquial conversation, colloquial language, but the meaning is the same. You could say a gente gosta or nós gostamos. The pronoun nós is also very, very common. You can use it all the time. It is not uncommon. You can use it all the time. Just remember to use the correct conjugation. Tá bem? Muito bom, gente. Então vamos lá. And then the pronoun vós, just a reminder for you, we don't use it in Brazil in spoken language at all. You can find it in old literature. You can find sometimes in poetry, and also in the Bible. They use it a lot, but we don't use it in conversation at all, like zero. I think they do use it a little bit in Portugal. Not sure, but in Brazil we don't use, okay? So don't worry about that. Okay, so to sum up, these are the pronouns that we actually really use in Brazil. We use the pronoun eu, we use ele, ela, você, a gente. All these four pronouns, they use the same conjugation, third person singular, same conjugation. Nós, eles, elas e vocês. So this is interesting. In English, we use the pronoun you, which means one person, or like you guys, like many people. In Portuguese, we have the singular and the plural. So if you're talking to one person, you should say você. If you're talking to a group of people, you should say vocês. Okay? Muito bom. So one question, interesting question from Eli. How do you say people like chocolate? If you're talking about people, in Portuguese, we don't use the word a gente. In Brazil, we use the word pessoas. So pessoas, as pessoas, like people in general, you could say as pessoas gostam de chocolate. So here I'm using a plural word, right? And which means they, right? Elas. So here I'm using the conjugation for the third person plural, right? As pessoas gostam. Gostam. Pay attention to the pronunciation. See that I don't pronounce the M at the end of words. It's gostam. 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 It's just a nasal sound. Okay? As pessoas gostam de chocolate. So this means people like chocolate. If you say a gente, it doesn't mean people, it means we, nós. Tá bem? Muito bom, excelente. Então vamos ver um exemplo. Let's see one example with a conjugation with the verb, one of the most important verbs in Portuguese, which is the verb ser. Ser means to be. Então, eu sou, você é, nós somos, eles são. So you see that all these four pronouns are conjugated the same way. Você é, ele é, ela é, a gente é. And all these three pronouns also use the same conjugation. Vocês são, eles são, elas são. Okay, so this is helpful for you guys. And if you are a beginner, if you're starting now, I recommend you focus on these two first lines, all the singular pronouns. If you memorize this, you'll be able to speak a lot of Portuguese. Okay, if you think that conjugation is overwhelming, just focus on these singular pronouns. Tá bem? Muito bom, gente. I'll answer your questions in a minute. I'm just going to talk a little bit about a few more things, and then we're going to practice, okay? I brought a lot of questions for you to practice conjugation in Portuguese. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what are modus verbais, because in Portuguese we have the conjugations, like I was talking about the persons, right? The pessoas, and we have something that is called verbal moods. What is this? What is this? So verbal moods we have three different verbal moods in Portuguese, and they indicate how verbs are expressed. Então, por exemplo, we have modo indicativo. The most common conjugations are in this mood. This mood is used to express facts and things that are certain. Then we have modo subjuntivo, which is used to express doubts, desires, hypotheses, possibilities. This is more intermediate and advanced level, okay? And we have modo imperativo, which is used to express, to give orders or ask for something or give advice. Okay, so these two moods are intermediate or advanced level. So for beginner students, I recommend you focus on the first mood. And then we have tempos verbais, verbal tenses. So as the name say, tempo in Portuguese means time. So when we talk about verbal tenses, we're talking about something that is related to time. Present time, past time, future time. So this is the difference between tempos verbais and modus verbais, okay? So as a beginner level student, these are the tenses that I recommend that you learn first. All the other tenses you learn later, okay? When you have time, when you are more prepared. In the beginning, you should learn these five main conjugations. Presente, pretérito perfeito, which is the simple past. Pretérito imperfeito, which is imperfect tense, imperfect past tense. This does not exist in English, okay? But in Portuguese, we have two past tenses. Futuro do presente, which is future tense. And futuro do pretérito, which is the conditional tense. So these are the tenses that I recommend you learn as a beginner level student, okay? So I just saw one question here. Quanto tempo vai durar a aula? All the classes, they last 1 hour, okay, during this week. Muito bom. So, vamos lá. Now we are going to practice a little bit. We are going to practice all these five tenses, okay? Let's start with with present tense, which is the most important one. You should start learning. If you have not learned Portuguese at all yet, start with present tense, okay? Então, usually use present tense to talk about things that we do on our daily lives, our routine, things that we like to do, things that we do every day, right? So that's why it is the most important tense. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to practice how to answer this question in Portuguese, okay? Então, por exemplo, eu acordo cedo todos os dias. I wake up early every day. Eu gosto de caminhar no parque com meu cachorro. I like to walk in the park with my dog. So here I'm using two regular verbs ending with the letters AR. These verbs, they all follow the same structure, the same pattern, right? Because they are regular. So all verbs ending in AR for the first person, eu, they are conjugated, they end with the letter O. Acordo, gosto. But pay attention to the way that I pronounce these words. See that when I say acordo, acordo, what is the stressed syllable? Pay attention to that. This is one big mistake that most students make. They stress the wrong syllable, so pay attention to that. Acordo. The stressed syllable is the second to last. It's not the last. It's not acordou. No, it's acordo. Repeat after me. Acordo. Acordo. Gosto. Gosto. See that the last letter is very weak. The last syllable is very weak, okay? The O at the end sounds like a very weak U. This is because the syllable is weak, okay? So, acordo, gosto, okay? All verbs ending in AR are going to follow this same conjugation. I have one question for you, and I want you to answer this question in the comments to practice Portuguese. How would you answer this question in Portuguese? And I'm gonna read some of your comments and try to help you, okay? O que você gosta de fazer nas horas livres? What do you like to do in your free time, spare time? O que você gosta de fazer nas horas livres? So use verb gostar here. This verb is very easy to use. You just conjugate the verb for yourself, eu gosto. You add the preposition de, and then you add any verb here, any verb in its infinitive form. So you could say, eu gosto de caminhar, eu gosto de comer chocolate, I like eating chocolate. Eu gosto de encontrar meus amigos, I like to meet my friends. How would you answer this question in Portuguese? Let me know in the comments. You can use, it's okay if you use Google Translate to help you a little bit if you are a beginner student, okay? I'm gonna read some of your comments in a minute. Just need to hydrate. Okay, I can see many comments coming in. Muito bom! Eu gosto de andar com minha cachorra. Excelente! Eu gosto de estudar. Excelente, cara. Eu gosto de assar pão. Well, I lost it. So many comments coming in. Eu gosto de assistir filmes em português. Muito bom, Ruth. Eu gosto de ler política. I think you should say sobre política, to read about something. De ler sobre política. Excelente. Gosto de cozinhar e aprender português. Muito bom. Eu gosto de nadar. Muito bom, Raul. Isso eu já mostrei. Gosto de assar pão. Muito bom. Excelente, gente. Gosto de estudar português em meu tempo livre. Muito bom, Graham. Eu gosto de praticar muitas línguas. Muito bom, Ramil. Gosto de brincar com meu cachorro. Muito bom. Gosto de jogar videogames com meu namorado. Leio livros e ouço música. Excelente, Linnea. Muito bom. Gosto de jogar videogames e aprender mais português nas horas livres. Excelente, gente. Muito bom. No mistakes. You guys are very good. Eu bebo um pequenininho café. Muito bom, Pedro. We have a very good word for this. We use the word cafezinho. Cafezinho. Muito bom. Gosto de jogar golfe. Que legal. Excelente. Gosto de assistir os vídeos da Speaking Brazilian. Muito bom. Excelente, gente. So let's, unfortunately, I cannot read all your comments because I want to be able to finish the class. So keep doing this exercise because when you stop to think and write in Portuguese, that is a very good exercise and that will help you a lot to improve your Portuguese. Tá bem? Muito bom. So I forgot to tell you this in the beginning of the class. I'll have a giveaway at the end of this class. So stay to the end, and at the end of this class, I'm gonna give away a pronunciation training with one of my teachers. I completely forgot to say this in the beginning. So if you're still here, stay until the end. At the end of the class, I'm gonna have one giveaway. Don't go anywhere. Okay? So let's continue. Vamos lá. Now vamos falar sobre, now let's talk about pretérito perfeito. You know, in Portuguese we have all these funny words for grammar, for verb tenses. So pretérito perfeito basically means it's a past tense, it's the simple past, okay? So we use this tense to talk about actions that happen in the past, usually in a specific moment. That's why it is called perfect past. It is it's a specific action that happened at a specific moment. Então, por exemplo, ontem eu acordei cedo. Yesterday I woke up early. Esta manhã eu caminhei no parque com meu cachorro. This morning I walked in the park with my dog. Então, eu acordei, eu caminhei. Two regular verbs. Acordar, caminhar. So when you conjugate any regular verb ending AR for the first person, eu, you should say acordei, caminhei, falei, estudei. But why now we have the stress at the end? So usually in Portuguese, words that end with two vowels, with a diphthong, they are stressed at the end. So notice that the pronunciation in present tense of the verbs is very different from the pronunciation in past tense. Okay, so present tense would be acordo. Acordo, the stress is in the middle. Past tense is acordei. Acordei, the stress is at the end. Okay, this is because of the two vowels at the end. Okay, muito bom. So repeat after me just to practice. Acordei. Acordei. Caminhei. Caminhei. Muito bom. Pergunta, question. I want you to practice past tense. Use a very simple verb, so nothing more too complicated if you are a beginner student. O que você fez ontem? What did you do yesterday? Remember that you don't have to use the verb to do, fazer, to answer this question. So we use the verb fazer to ask the question, what did you do? O que você fez? But you can use any verb to answer the question, right? You could say, eu caminhei, eu estudei, eu trabalhei. You could use any verb, right? So let me know in the comments one thing that you did yesterday. Uma coisa que você fez ontem. O que você fez ontem? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to read some of your comments. And if you are a beginner student, it is hard for you. I know you can use Google Translate, and I'm going to read some of your comments and maybe give you some feedback. Tá bem? Muito bom, gente. Excelente. So while you write your comments, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is Preterite Imperfetto. It is the second past tense that we use in Portuguese. And it is a little bit confusing very confusing for English speakers because we don't have these two tenses in English. But if you speak Spanish, French, Italian, we do have these two tenses in these languages, okay? So that helps. But if you speak only English, it can be a little bit complicated because, so the imperfect tense. So as the name says, it is imperfect. It is not an action that happened in a specific moment in the past. It's something more, less clear. So we use the imperfect tense to talk about habits. So if it is a habit in the past, use imperfect tense. If you are describing something in the past, it is not an action that happened. It is a description, right? Oh, the day was beautiful. Imperfect tense. If you are, so these are the two main things that I want you to remember about this tense. There are other details. There is not one simple rule to know when to use one or the other. You need a lot of practice to really learn how to use these two tenses. But these tips that I'm giving you today, I think they are very helpful if you think about, oh, is this an action that happened in the past, or is this a description, or is this a habit? Okay? So, two examples. Quando eu era criança, eu morava no Brasil. When I was a child, I lived in Brazil. So whenever we use this kind of structure in Portuguese, when I had, this structure usually is imperfect tense. Okay, so keep that in mind. Second example, quando eu estava na faculdade, eu gostava de sair com meus amigos. Okay? Quando eu estava, quando eu era. So here I'm using two So era and estava, they are irregular verbs. And morava and gostava, they are regular verbs. So this is the conjugation for all verbs ending in AR and imperfect tense. Morava, gostava. So here again the stress is in the middle, right? Morava, gostava, estudava, trabalhava, falava. All verbs ending in AR are going to follow the same structure, tá bem? So I have one more question for you. So I see one interesting comment here. Yes, so pretérito perfeito is used to and would in English. Yes, so this is a very good way of thinking of comparing pretérito imperfeito with English. If you can use the word used to or would in past tense, it is imperfect tense in Portuguese, okay? It is not always like that because sometimes we use simple past in English and we use imperfect tense in Portuguese. But if you can change the phrase and the sentence and use the phrases used to or I would do this or that in the past, it is imperfect tense in Portuguese. So this is a very good way of comparing the two languages. Muito bom. So one question for you. Onde você morava quando era criança? Where did you live when you were a child? Onde você morava quando era criança? So here we have to use the verb morar. So I'm already giving you the conjugation. Interesting thing, in this tense, the conjugation for all the singular pronouns is the same. Eu, você, ele, ela, a gente morava. Always morava, okay? So you see, conjugation sometimes is not that difficult. Muito bom, gente. Let me know. And so we have another question here. So this question is, let me know in the comments while I answer this question. Think about your answer. Onde você morava quando era criança? And I'm going to read some of the comments in a minute. So here Philip is basically asking the difference between verbs ser and estar. So I have a video about this on my YouTube channel. And this is also one of the main difficulties for English speakers because in English you have verb to be, right? French speakers as well. That is just the verb être. But in Portuguese, we have two verbs to be. And we use the verb ser to talk about permanent or long-lasting things, and verb estar to talk about temporary and things. So I'm not sure. So in these two examples that I'm talking about, quando eu era criança, when you talk about being a child, it is always verb ser. Okay, it's always verb ser. And when you talk about, when I said, quando eu estava na faculdade, I'm talking about location. So location is always verb estar because it is always temporary. Okay, so when I was attending college, it is verb estar. When I was a child, verb ser. Okay, so this is also a topic that is not super easy because there are many details. But you get that with a lot of practice, okay? Whenever you talk about being a child, being an adult, being an adolescent, it is always verb ser. Always. Whenever you talk about location, it is always verb estar. Always, okay? Muito bom. Excelente, gente. So now I'm going to read some of the comments, and if you have questions as well, I'm going to read some of them. So many comments. Eu morava no Canadá. Excelente, Mark. Morava in Rhode Island. I'm going to go up a little bit to see some of the comments on the simple past. Ah, eu comi bolo de hortelã. Wow, I never had that. Nunca comi bolo de hortelã. Was it good? Foi bom? Eu sentei no meu jardim. Muito bom. Ontem eu alimentei os pássaros. Ah, que legal. Eu também. Me too. Muito bom. Eu falei com um amigo brasileiro. Excelente. Esta manhã eu comi um abacaxi. So, Raul, this verb is different because it's the verb comer. And I did not give all these examples in this lesson because we don't have time to talk about all of that. So if the conjugation for verbs ending in er is a little bit different. So if you have comer, you see the infinitive form of the verb ends in er. So the conjugation in past tense is eu comi. Eu comi. Okay? So if it is ar verb like falar, then in this case is eu falei. Eu falei, comer, eu comi. Okay? So Essa manhã eu comi. Essa manhã eu comi um abacaxi. Muito bom. Ontem eu assisti aviões no aeroporto. Uau, muito bom. So here the same thing, Kath. Eu comi. Eu comi. Because this verb is different from these verbs that I gave in the examples. Okay? Muito bom. I'm going to give you at the end of this PDF, there is a website where you can find all the conjugations of all verbs. So I'm going to give you that, and then you can take a look at that as well. That will be helpful for you to understand the conjugations a little bit better. Muito bom, gente. Let me see if I find more comments on... ok, Imperfect Tense. Quando eu era criança, eu morava na Irlanda. Muito bom, Luiz. Eu corri no parque. Excelente. Eu morava na cidade de 33. Que legal! Muito bom. Eu morava na Flórida e ainda moro lá. Muito bom, Kenneth. Eu morava em Israel. Que legal! Muito bom. Eu morava em minha dos meus pais. Em minha casa, I think you mean. Right, Mônica? Eu morava em minha casa. Muito bom. Eu morava na Califórnia. Muito bom, Kevin. Remember here, son, is quando eu era. You have to conjugate the verb. The verb ser, it's the verb in its infinitive form. It's like saying in English, when I be a child, right? You have to say when I was a child. So, quando eu era criança. Quando eu era criança. Muito bom, excelente. Muito bom, gente. So, ok, question here, eu morava na Índia ou eu morava, it's morava with the letter A, ava at the end, ok? Eu morava. Muito bom, gente. So let's continue. I want to still talk about two tenses, so I'm going to talk about these tenses. I'm going to give you two more assignments, so stay tuned. Então, futuro do presente, and remember to stay to the end because we have the giveaway that I mentioned. I'm going to give away one pronunciation coaching training with one of my teachers, so don't go anywhere. Então, futuro do presente. Futuro do presente is future tense. We have two main tenses in Portuguese. We have the futuro do presente, but the one that we really use in colloquial language is another tense that is called futuro imediato. And they have the same meaning, but that is one that is just more common in colloquial language. So I'm going to give you two examples. You could say, amanhã eu assistirei a filme. I will watch a movie. It sounds a little bit formal. It's not too formal, but it's a little bit formal. You could say this, it is correct, but if you pay attention to Brazilians speaking, you see that most people don't use this tense. And the most common one is, amanhã eu vou assistir a filme. Eu vou assistir. What is the difference in the meaning? There is no difference. Assistirei and vou assistir, they have the same meaning, okay? But I recommend you use the second one because it is more common, more colloquial, okay? Especially in spoken language. You will see this first one a lot in written language, and journalists, they use this a lot, right? Because they use a more formal language. But like in regular conversation with friends and family, I recommend you use the second one, tá bem? Muito bom. So, vamos lá. I have a question for you. O que você vai fazer amanhã? So tell me one thing that you're going to do tomorrow using this tense. I recommend you use the second one. O que você vai fazer amanhã? Por exemplo, eu vou caminhar, eu vou estudar, eu vou trabalhar, eu vou assistir a aula da professora Virginia. O que você vai fazer amanhã? Let me know in the comments. If you are a beginner level student, you can use Google Translate. It's totally okay. Google Translate works well for simple sentences, okay? If you use like complex sentences and expressions, it doesn't work well, but for simple sentences, it works well. Just one practice pronunciation. Repeat after me. Assistirei. Assistirei. So you see here, again, I have this stress at the end because we have two vowels, right? Assistirei. Assistirei. Vou assistir. Vou assistir. Two verbs. So in this case, it is very easy to use. You just have to conjugate eu vou, I will, and then you add the main verb in its infinitive form. You don't have to conjugate the main verb. Eu vou assistir. Eu vou assistir. All verbs in its infinitive form, they end with the letter R, and they are stressed at the end. Assistir. Ok? Muito bom. I'm going to talk about the last tense and then I'm going to come back and read some of your comments. Então, the last tense that I want to practice with you today is futuro do pretérito, which is the conditional tense. Okay? So, por exemplo, here I'm actually doing, I'm going to give you two different examples. One is used with the subjunctive tense. Se eu pudesse, viajaria ao Brasil. So this tense is used a lot when you want to say, if I could, I would. So in Portuguese, the futuro do pretérito is equivalent to I would do this in the future, right? In the future. Because if you say I would do this in the past, then it is imperfect tense. Remember that I mentioned that? But about the future is eu viajaria ao Brasil. I would travel to Brazil in the future. Eu viajaria. We also use this tense to be polite. So if you go to a restaurant, let's say if you want to order something, you want to be very polite. So it's just like in English, instead of saying, I want this, you would say, I would like to have this, please. You know, it's more polite. So we have this tense in Portuguese also to be polite. Eu gostaria de beber uma água, por favor. I would like to have some water, please. Okay? So this tense is using these two. These are the most common uses of this tense. And the conjugation is very easy. It's just the ria at the end, viajaria. And it's also the same for all singular pronouns. Eu, você, ele, ela, a gente, viajaria, viajaria. Okay? Here the stress is also at the end, two vowels at the end, viajaria. The E sound is the strongest one. Viajaria, viajaria. Okay? Question for you. Se você pudesse viajar amanhã, para onde você iria? If you could travel tomorrow, where would you go? So don't worry about this first tense here. This is subjunctive tense. You just repeat. You could just say, se eu pudesse viajar amanhã, then you say, I would go. Eu iria para o Brasil. Eu iria para Tailândia. Eu viajaria para o Japão, okay? So focus on this tense, the conditional tense, to practice, okay? So let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna read some of your comments now. And this is the website that I recommend if you wanna see conjugations, conjugação.com.br. I recommend you focus on these tenses that I mentioned today. This website has many tenses, and we don't use all these tenses in Brazil. So I don't recommend you study everything. Go step by step. I recommend you start with these 5 tenses, okay? Remember to drink water, guys. Lembre-se de beber água. So I'm going to read some of the comments and then I'm going to have some time to answer your questions. Muito bom, muito bom. Então vamos lá. Eu iria para o Brasil, muito bom, excelente. Se eu corresse todos os dias, eu ficaria em forma, muito bom, ótimo exemplo, Margos. Eu viajaria para a Ilha Bela outra vez, muito bom. So vez we write it V-E-Z, V-E-Z, even though we pronounce vez, muito bom. Eu viajaria ao Brasil, excelente, muito bom. Brasil, claro, é óbvio. Muito bom. Let me see. I'm gonna go a little bit up to see some future tense. Amanhã eu vou ao supermercado. Muito bom. So usually in Brazil we don't say eu vou ir because two times the verb ir. We usually just say eu vou ao supermercado. Just use present tense to also talk about the future with this verb. But it's not wrong. It is correct the way that you said it. It's just more common to say eu vou ao supermercado. Muito bom. Se eu pudesse, eu renunciaria ao meu trabalho. Ah, Mark! Se eu pudesse viajar amanhã, eu viajaria para o Brasil. Muito bom! Amanhã vou receber minha segunda vacina. Parabéns! I just had my vaccine this Friday. I'm very happy that I have energy to teach this class today. I was worried I would not. Muito bom! Exatamente, or in French, je voudrais. Então, eu gostaria, it's equivalent to je voudrais. Muito bom. Muito bom, gente. Amanhã vou comer sorvete. Vou comer sorvete com minha namorada. Excelente. Amanhã vou assistir o mesmo vídeo de novo. Muito bom. Excelente, gente. So now I'm gonna have some time to answer your questions. So think about questions that you might have asked before, but it's very hard for me to read all your comments. So you can, if I did not answer your question, you can just copy and paste again. And don't go anywhere. We still have the giveaway at the end of the class, and like in 10 minutes. I have some questions here that Aline sent me. So Carla Lopez is asking from El Salvador. Tudo bom, Carla? She's asking, estou pronta para estudar com vocês. Are we going to have access to the transcript? You're talking about transcript of this class? Not this class. No, because it is a live class, so I don't have transcript. You do have access to this material, to this PDF, if you just go sign up for the course on the website, okay? BrazilianPortugueseWeek.com. Muito bom. Nusha, have a question. When you said nós by itself, it sounded like monophone. However, when you said nós somos, nós sounded like a diphthong. How should be pronounced? Okay, so the pronunciation of the word nós. You can have two different pronunciations. It really depends on the accent. And I myself, sometimes I pronounce it in different ways. So sometimes I say nós. It could be nós, nós, just the letter S right after the O sound. But a lot of people would say nós, nós. Okay, so nós somos, nós somos. Nós somos. Both pronunciations are correct. It's just an accent, a different accent. Looking for more questions here. What is the difference between morar and viver? This is from Olga. There is no difference. They are synonyms. The most used verb in Brazil is morar. Morar is more common. Okay. So Anna is asking, is the form A or I only for the first person singular or for every person? These examples that I gave is only for the first person. So to see I did not mention all the conjugations in this class because I would not have time to teach all that. But I'm gonna give you, but then we have to, it depends on the verb because we have like AR verbs and ER verbs and IR verbs. So 3 groups of regular verbs, and we have the irregular verbs. So I didn't want to cover all that in this class because it is a lot. I cover all that in my courses. And I also have videos about each one of these conjugations on my YouTube channel. So if you take some time to look for that on my YouTube channel, you'll find one different video for each group of regular verbs, and also many different videos for irregular verbs. So you should really take your time to study one by one, okay? Muito bom. So looking for more questions here. I see a lot of questions, guys. Muito bom. Okay, comments, just looking for questions. In 5 minutes, I'm going to have the giveaway. I'm just going to answer some of the questions before we have. When would you use costumava versus Preterite Imperfetto form of the verb? Oh, okay, this is a very interesting question. You know, most of the time you could use both ways. I'm going to give you 2 examples. So you could say, I'm going to go here to the other page so we have like a blank page. So you could say, eu costumava sair com amigos quando era mais jovem. So I used to go out with my friends when I were younger. Or you could say, eu saía com os amigos. Eu saía com amigos quando era mais jovem. So the meaning is the same. There is no difference. So you could say, eu costumava sair, or eu saía. The meaning is really the same. You could choose to use the one that you prefer. I know that when you say costumava sair sounds more natural to English speakers because it is similar to the I used to do this, right? But if you say eu saía and costumava sair, the meaning is just the same. Okay, you could use one or the other. Good question, staff. Looking for more questions here. Muito bom, muito bom. With words like era and morava, is the R silent? No, the R is very pronounced in these words. The R is only silent sometimes at the end of words. It depends on the accent, okay? Because the R in Portuguese should also always be pronounced, but in some accents, some people drop the last R. But the words era, morava, it is impossible to have a silent R here. You have to pronounce it. In this case, it doesn't matter the accent. It is mandatory to say era, morava. Okay? So the R right before a vowel, it should always sound like this. It is a fricative R. Ra, ra, era, morava. This is the pronunciation everywhere. Doesn't matter the accent. Okay? Muito bom. Algum livro ou apostila que você recomende? Yes, I created a list of books on Amazon. You can take a look there. Aline can send you the link to this Amazon page with the list of books that I recommend. Muito bom. Looking for more questions. Diferença entre conseguir e saber. Conseguir means to reach something, to be able to do something. Saber means to know something. So they are very different verbs. I have videos about these two verbs on my YouTube channel. I recommend you to look for them. If you just go to my channel and you use if you say type speaking Brazilian and then a keyword, you'll find I have almost 200 videos available, guys. You should take a look at that. Yes, we are studying just first person today because it is impossible to cover everything in 1 hour. But you'll find a lot of videos about these topics on my YouTube channel. And we are also going to practice more in the next classes. Would you use the conditional for politeness with any other verb except gostar? Not many verbs, but you could also use with the verb poder, like poderia. Could you do this for me, please? Você poderia fazer isso para mim? Could you help me, please? Você poderia me ajudar? So I think that gostar and poder are the most common verbs, but you could also say, você faria isso para mim? Would you do that for me? Você faria isso para mim? So we do use with some other verbs. I think these are the most common ones. We don't use with every verb when we're talking about politeness, but yes. Fazer, gostar, poder, I think they are the most common ones. Muito bom, very good questions, muito boas perguntas. Okay, take a couple of minutes to see if you have any other question. I'm gonna have the giveaway like in 2 minutes. Just before we finish our class, I just want to remind you that after this class, go to my Instagram account and do the challenge so you practice. So I'm going to give you one assignment for today, and this is going to help you practice Portuguese in addition to this class. So this is my Instagram account, Virginia_Langhammer. And remember that today I just opened enrollment for my courses. If you are interested in learning Portuguese with me, this is the opportunity to start after this class. So the classes start in May, the first week of May, May 3rd. And some courses last 12 weeks, except the Speaking Brazilian Academy, which is a membership course. And the next class will be starting in August or September only. Okay, so if you really want to learn Portuguese this year, and if you'd like to learn with me and my team, go check it out. Go take a look at these courses, and you'll find a lot of information. Just click on Learn More, and you'll find all the information you need about these classes on this page. Okay, so just go to speakingbrazilian.com and click on courses, and you see all the courses that I offer. Okay, if you have any questions about my courses, also let me know, and I can also take a couple of minutes to answer your questions. And don't forget to sign up for the Brazilian Portuguese Week to have access to the PDF of the lesson. Okay, at the end of the lesson, I also have some extra questions that you can use to practice. Muito bom, gente. Okay, so now let's go for the giveaway. So Aline sent me, she's doing the giveaway for me. Okay, just changing the image so you can see me. Okay, so let me see who Aline selected. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so this is the winner. Today's winner is Olga de Grovic. Olga de Grovic. So you are the winner, Olga. So if you're here, Olga, you have to get in contact with Aline via email. Her email is school@speakingbrazilian.com. She cannot access, contact you via here. It's complicated, so you should email her, Olga de Grovic. You are the winner of today's giveaway, and you just won a 30-minute pronunciation coaching with one of the teachers of Speaking Brazilian School. Okay, guys, so just taking a look of the some last questions that you might have, and then we are going to finish the class. I saw some people asking, oh, can I watch a replay? Yes, you will find a replay available on the courses page, so just sign up and you have access to the replay. Okay, some last questions here. So yes, Sarah was asking, Sarah Buta, will the recording for the call be available? Yes, so you can access the replay later. Did the entire Portuguese course on Duolingo? How do I know in which of your courses should I enroll? Please, I recommend you take a placement test. So I created a placement test exclusively for those who are not sure which course. If you study using only Duolingo, I would probably recommend that you join the beginners class, even if you have some knowledge, because I know that Duolingo will teach you a lot of important stuff, because you did not take any regular course, and the apps, they are very limited. So I would recommend the beginners class. Even if you know a little bit, the course will give you a very solid foundation in the language. You're going to practice a lot in class. It is a very, very complete course. But if you're not sure if you want to take the placement test, just go to my website, speakingbrazilian.com, click on placement test, and follow the instructions, and then the test will recommend the best course for you. Okay, also guys, if you join one of my courses and if you change your mind, oh, this course is too easy, this course is too difficult, you can just switch to another course. Just email me. I'm very flexible about that. You just can email me and I switch you to another course, more advanced or easier. And also I offer 30-day money back guarantee. If you decide, okay, online learning is not for me, this is not what I want, I just want to cancel the subscription and I want my money back, you have 30 days from the day of purchase to do that. Okay, so you can try the course. Some students, they sign up for 2 courses at once because they're not sure, and then they just ask for the refund. This is also possible. Okay, you can always ask for a refund, so you have this guarantee that you can try to see if this is a good option for you. Muito bom. Just looking at some other questions that you guys have. I think I answered most of your questions. Okay, guys, so this was amazing. I took some classes in Rio, but feel like I need more practice. So beginner's course, yeah. If you studied for less than 3 months, it is for sure 100% sure beginner's course. If you study for longer than that, maybe the pre-intermediate course, but all this that I covered in the lesson today, all these 5 tenses, we cover all that in the beginner's course and much more. So if you don't know how to use these 5 tenses yet, beginner's course, okay? Because you really need to learn all that before you sign up for a different course. So you should be able to use these 5 tenses with all the pronouns, with all the most important pronouns, plus a lot of all the basic vocabulary to join the pre-intermediate course. So if you're not comfortable with all that I just said, with everything that we covered in this class, if this class was a little bit difficult for you, you should definitely join the beginner's course. Okay, if you're not sure, take the placement test. It will help you. Just go to my website, you find a placement test. Okay, just taking a last look to see if there is any other question that I have not answered. Okay, guys. Okay, I think I answered most of your questions. Anyway, if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at school@speakingbrazilian.com. And I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. I'm so excited I'll be here with you for one entire week. So I'll see you again tomorrow, 2 p.m., same place. And don't forget to sign up to have access to the material. Don't forget to go to my Instagram account to take the challenge. Ok, guys? Um beijo grande. Até amanhã. Tchau, tchau.